Details on a major crash on Highway 99 that sent several people to the hospital. Officers were investigating prowlers in a Red Bluff business and made an arrest for guns and drugs. And a change for air travelers when it comes to compensation from the airlines when things go wrong.
Covering Northern California. You're watching Action News Now. Coverage you can count on.
New at noon, a crash involving two cars and a semi-truck snarled the morning commute on Highway 99 in Butte County. Happened just after 7 a.m. south of the Highway 149 interchange. CHP officers say a car heading north stopped to turn and was hit by the car behind it, pushing it into an oncoming semi. The truck ended up more than 100 feet into an orchard. Both lanes of traffic were blocked.
The key thing here is distracted driving. And seatbelts. All of these drivers had their seatbelts on, and the passenger, which saved their lives as well as caused less injury. And distracted driving is always a factor in these collisions. Speed is another factor.
3 people went to the hospital with moderate injuries. A 4th person said they would seek treatment on their own. No word yet as to whether anyone will be cited. Also new at noon, an arrest on drug and weapons charges in Red Bluff. Police say an officer spotted an open door at a closed business on Montgomery Road and a light inside and located several people inside. They also found fentanyl, marijuana, a revolver, rifle, and ammunition. In the end, Frederick Appleby was the person arrested for those drugs and weapons, and apparently is not allowed to have weapons because of a past conviction. This is a live lookout from the Around Mountain Shasta Alert California camera. As you can see, mostly sunny skies, and we're in for somewhat cooler temperatures today. For the latest, we check in with Court Clopping.
Yeah, I'd call it a pretty welcome dip in temperatures on tap for your Friday, so they're going in the right direction. A bit more comfortable out there for today. And here is the view from the Deer Creek Highway camera. This is up Highway 32 just east of Chico, looking to the west over the valley. Blue skies to the south, few thin clouds to the north, and that's what I'm tracking for you in the hyperlocal look at the satellite and radar. Some thin clouds just brushing through the west side of the valley right now, but we are dry and for the most part sunny across our region so far today. Temperatures not warming up too quickly. 77 degrees still for Chico, not too bad for your lunch break with sunshine overhead and calm winds. 80 degrees in Redding, not too shabby at all with sunshine. Right now 77 degrees for Red Bluff and currently 75 degrees in Orville. Heading into this afternoon, temperatures upper 80s to maybe mid 90s. We'll have winds out of the south gusting up 20 miles an hour and humidity down to as low as 25%. When you combine all of those conditions together, it leaves us with fire danger in the moderate range for today, so some positive news there. Linda, coming up in just a few minutes, I'll be tracking how warm will end up in your backyard this afternoon and fall-like weather on the horizon in your forecast.
All right, thank you, Court. Containment is growing on the fires burning in the Shasta Trinity National Forest. The root fire is now 50% contained in Shasta County. That's up from 45% yesterday. One zone is still under an evacuation order that is shaded here in red, and 3 zones in Siskiyou County are under warnings. They're shown here in yellow. The fire has burned 759 acres, but hasn't grown in the past 24 hours. The U.S. Forest Service says crews still face challenges because of the steep terrain. In Trinity County, all evacuation orders have been lifted for the Cedar fire, but 7 zones still have warnings. You see those here in yellow. The fire has burned 104 acres. It's part of the Swift complex of fires where flight restrictions are in place over that complex. The fire is now 15% contained after breaking out in the Post Mountain area 2 days ago. Forest Service said crews are focusing their efforts on neighborhoods to the west and east of the fire, including Trinity Pines. This weekend marked 5 years since the deadly bear fire destroyed Berry Creek, Feather Falls, and other communities. In September of 2020, the lightning-caused fire burned about 319,000 acres. 16 people were killed, and 2,500 homes and buildings were destroyed. There will be a remembrance tomorrow at Berry Creek Community Church on Bald Rock Road. It starts at 11 a.m. Now to some big news for air travelers. The Trump administration says it is canceling a rule that would have given flyers more rights to compensation for flight disruptions. This could save airlines money at the expense of passengers. Chris Van Cleve is at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport.
This proposed regulation was introduced in December at the end of the Biden administration, and the argument was if there was a financial penalty for airline-caused delays, there would be fewer delays. But ultimately, it was left up to the Trump administration to decide if they would move forward, and instead the administration has decided to scrap this proposed regulation. Here's how it would have worked. It would have required airlines to pay up to $300 for domestic delays of 3 hours or more, and up to $775 for delays lasting at least 9 hours, similar to regulations you find in the EU and Canada. Airlines opposed it from the start, arguing additional cash compensation would ultimately drive up ticket prices. In a statement, the trade group for U.S. airlines praised the move, saying, "We are encouraged by this Department of Transportation reviewing unnecessary and burdensome regulations that exceeded its authority and do not solve issues important to our customers." DOT says it is also considering a rollback of a Biden-era requirement for carriers to disclose additional fees, such as checked bags or change fees, and plans to revisit how it defines a flight cancellation that would trigger a refund. Currently, airlines still have to refund flyers for canceled flights.
That was Chris Van Cleve reporting. The Department of Transportation says it will faithfully implement all regulations required by Congress, but that some of the proposed or adopted regulations from the previous administration exceeded that authority. President Trump plans to sign an executive order today rebranding the Department of Defense. President's directive will add Department of War as the secondary title of the Defense Department. The order will authorize Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to use secondary titles like Secretary of War and Department of War in official correspondence and public communications. Officially changing the department's name would require congressional approval. A new study from the University of North Carolina lists 28 California hospitals at risk due to federal funding cuts tied to the budget bill recently passed by Congress. That includes 6 locations spanning 5 counties in our area: the Biggs Gridley Memorial Hospital, Oroville Hospital, St. Elizabeth Community Hospital in Red Bluff, Trinity Hospital in Weaverville, the Modoc Medical Center in Alturas, and the Fairchild Medical Center in Wairika. The spending bill also includes more than $1 trillion in cuts for Medicaid in the Affordable Care Act and more than $500 billion in Medicare cuts. Rescuers in Siskiyou County used a helicopter to rescue an injured backpacker. The group of 4 backpackers said they've been making the annual trip for 50 years. Well, on Tuesday, one of them fell near Lower Wright Lake in the Marble Mountain Wilderness and couldn't hike back out. A helicopter hoisted the injured man out for treatment after the ground team located him. Still ahead, the new jobs report is out. We'll hear from the experts about what it reveals about our economy.